Welcome back. This is lesson 1. So I will be able to fill in the blank with divide decimals by whole numbers correctly. I will remember to divide correctly and line up place values and annex zeros as necessary. Remember, as we are doing these video notes, feel free to pause the video if you need to catch up with writing or go back if you missed something. But don't rush because of me. You can pause the video. All right, vocabulary for this lesson. Decimal point. The decimal point is what separates the whole units from the parts. Place value tells us how much each digit is worth based on where it is in a number. Quotient is the answer to a division problem. Dividend is the number that's being divided. And the divisor is the one that is doing the dividing. Let's look at this problem. The 6th grade had a movie party. It was decided that Mr. Corey would buy the treats and each student would pay an equal amount to pay him back. The total for the treats came to $134.64. If there are 72 students in the 6th grade, how much does each student owe Mr. Corey? So which one is the dividend here? That would be the total amount of money that is getting split up. So that would be $134.64. Our divisor is how many students there are. So there's 72. So we're going to estimate. Remember, when we estimate division, we always round the divisor first. I'd say this is close to 70. And now I want something that 70 will go into that's close to 134.64. So I'm going to round it to a whole number or possibly a 10. So 7, 14. 14 is close to 13, so I'm going to say $140 is what this is close to. So each student will owe about $2. Now we overestimated. We rounded this down and we rounded this up. So our answer will probably be a little less than $2, but that gives us an idea if we're in the right area. All right, let's go ahead and do our math. So we put 134, put the decimal point in here, and 64 cents. Okay, this is important. Each one of these columns is representing each place value. And our decimal point has to line up with the decimal point up here. That keeps our place values in the right spot. Okay, we are dividing by 72. So now we just go for each place value. First, we're looking at the hundreds place. Can I squeeze 72 out of 1? I cannot. So I'm going to put an X above there. Can I squeeze 72 out of 13 tens? I cannot. Well, we kind of knew that. Our answer is going to be somewhere around $2. So that means we wouldn't be able to go until the ones place value anyway. 72, I think 70 times 2 is 140, so that would be a little too much. So that tells me 1. We'll go here. 1 minus 72, or not 1, 1 times 72 is 72. Okay, we're subtracting here. So we're taking out $72 that each student would owe. So 4 minus 2 is 2. 3 minus 7 we can't do, so we'll borrow in our group. 13 minus 7 is 6. So that leaves us with $62 that we can't split up into whole dollars anymore, so we go to the next place value. Now we're looking at tenths. We're saying we have 626 tenths, or in this case, since it's money, that would be dimes, right? Because a dime is a tenth of a dollar. Now, how many times do you think 72 will go into 626? I'm guessing somewhere around 8 or 9. So let's try 9 and see what happens. 72 times 9. 9 times 2 is 18. Regroup 1. 7 times 9 is 63, plus 1 more is 64. That's a little too high, so we can move down to 72 times 8. 8 times 2 is 16. Regroup the 1. 8 times 7 is 56, plus 1 more is 57. So we're going to put an 8 here. That means each student's going to owe Mr. Corey 8 dimes. So 8 times 72, that means it would take out 576 in that place value. 6 minus 6 is 0. 2 minus 7 we can't do, so we're going to regroup. 12 minus 7 is 5, and 5 minus 5 is 0. So that leaves us with 50 dimes that we couldn't split evenly, so now we're going to turn it into pennies, or into hundreds. Okay, so we have 504 pennies. We split that debt among all 72 students. Since this is 576, I'm going to guess 7. So 72 times 7. 7 times 2 is 14. Regroup 1. 7 times 7 is 49. Plus 1 is 50. Perfect. So we put a 7 up here. 7 times 72 gives me 504. And 504 minus 504 is 0. So each student we think owes $1.87. But before we conclude that, let's check our answer. So yesterday we talked about timesing with decimals, so let's practice it here. $1.87 times 72 students. Let's see if that comes up with our total. 2 times 7 is 14. Regroup 1. 2 times 8 is 16, plus 1 more is 17. Regroup 1. 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 more is 3. I'm going to get nothing in this place value, so I put a placeholder 0 there, and I'm moving over. 7 times 7 is 49. Regroup 4. 7 times 8 is 56, plus 4 more is 60. Regroup 6. 7 times 1 is 7, plus 6 more is 13. Okay, we add it up. Remember, when we multiply with decimals, we ignore the decimal for now. 7 plus 9 is 16. Regroup 1. 1 plus 3 is 4. And then 3, 1, and then we have 1, 2 places behind the decimal in our problem. So that means we have 1, 2 places behind our decimal in our answer. So this matches the amount that Mr. Corey paid for everything. So that tells us that every student will owe Mr. Corey $1.87 when we're done. Okay, let's try another one. Okay, let's go ahead and fill in this pro tip first. Okay, the place values in the dividend must line up with the place values in the quotient. And an easy way to do that is just remember to line up your decimals. If your decimals are in line, then that means your tenths will be in line, your hundredths will be in line, your ones, tens, hundreds, and so on. Okay, the decimal point's an easy way to make sure that that happens. All right, so we're going to do 34 divided by 20, but we want a decimal answer, not a fraction or a remainder answer. So we're going to estimate. I'm going to keep 20 because 20 is a good round number to work with. What is something that 20 goes into evenly that is close to 34? 40 divided by 20 is 2. So our answer is somewhere near 2. Okay, go ahead and put 34 inside the box because it's our divisor, or it's our dividend. We're dividing by 20, so 20 goes on the outside. All right, will 20 squeeze into the tens place of 3? We can't do that. So 20 squeeze into 34. It will one time, so I'm going to put a 1 there. Now up here, since I rounded this up and got 2, that would make sense that our answer would be lower than 2. Okay, so 1 times 20 is 20, so I'm going to subtract 20 from 34. That leaves me with 14 ones left over, but I want a decimal. Okay, remember this is a whole number, but at the end of every whole number is an invisible decimal hiding in the shadows. So we're going to write that decimal there so that we can bring in this place value. If I were just to put a 0 there, that would become 340. But by putting the decimal there, that tells me I'm working with tenths. So there are 0 tenths here, but I'm going to bring it down. That means I have a total of 140 tenths. That also means I need to have a decimal right there in my answer. My whole units are done. I'm now moving into the decimal portion of my number. 20 goes into 140. 2 times 7 is 14, so 20 times 7 would give me 140. So subtract 140 and I end up with 0. I get an answer of 1 7/10. Let's check our answer by multiplying these back together and see if we hit 34. So 1.7 times 20. 0 times 7 is 0. 0 times 1 is 0. And if you realize that when you're multiplying by 0 by that, you might as well just put a 0 down in that place value and do all here, but that's okay if you like to write it out. We move to the next place value. That means there will be nothing in the ones place. 2 times 7 would be 14. Regroup 1. 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 more is 3. Add it up. We get 340, but we're not done yet. We have one place behind the decimal in our problem. That means we need to have one place behind the decimal in our answer. So we got 34.0, which is the same as 34. That tells us we have done our work correctly. Okay, let's try this one. We're taking a very small number, something less than 0, and we're dividing it into 18 smaller groups. So let's round this. I'm going to say that's close to 20. And I want something that 20 will go into that's close to this. I'm going to say to the nearest whole 0. I can divide anything. I can divide 0 by anything. So 0 divided by 20 is 0. In other words, estimating wise, this is going to be a really small number. So if I get a very small decimal, I'm probably in the right direction. All right, this is the dividend. So I'm going to put 0 and 243 thousandths under the division box, and 18 on the outside. All right, 18 goes into the ones place 0 times because there is 0 there. Now because this is a decimal, I don't want to put an X. I could, but I need to realize that on a decimal, I always want something to represent my whole units, so I'm going to put a 0 there to represent 0 whole units because of where the decimal is. Okay, so that's similar to an X, so I can move to the next one. And after the decimal, I also want to put zeros. So, well, can I squeeze 18 out of 2? I cannot, so this is going to be a 0 as well. I can squeeze 18 out of 24, so now I can finally do something. 18 will go into 24 one time, so I'm going to subtract 18 from 24. Notice how we are finally working in the hundredths place. So I have to borrow. 14 minus 8 gives me 6, and 1 minus 1 is 0. 18 will go into 63. I'm not quite sure how many times. I'm guessing 3 or 4. Because it's about 20, and 20 times 3 is 60, so let's try that. 18 times 3, 3 times 8 is 24. Regroup 3, or 2, regroup 2. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 2 is 5. So I got 54, and I couldn't do another group of 18. So 3 is 54, so I subtract 54 here, and that leaves me with 13 minus 4 is 9. Here, and I want to keep dividing until I get 0 when I'm doing with decimals. So I'm going to annex a 0. There are 0 10,000ths, but I can bring that down here to help me. So 18 times, let's see, 54, 5 more. 5 times 8 is 40. Regroup 4. 5 times 1 is 5, plus 4 more is 9. Oh, perfect. Minus 90, that means I have to put 5 up here. And I get 0. So it looks like it's a very small decimal. Thousandths. Look at that. That would be 100th. It's a little bit more than 100th. If this was money, you'd round it to a penny, if that gives you an idea. That's a very small decimal. Okay, we're going to check our answer by timesing it and making sure it works. So 0 and 0, 1, 3, 5. 8 times 5 is 40, regroup 4. 8 times 3 is 24, plus 4 is 28, regroup 2. 8 times 1 is 8, plus 2 more would give me 10, regroup 1. 8 times 0, I see a lot of people mess this up. 8 times 0 is 0, plus 1 more would be 1. I see a lot of people say 8 times 0 is 8. Remember, that doesn't work. 8 times 0 is 0. Okay, moving in a place value, so I cross that off, put a 0 placeholder here, so I start in this one. 1 times 5 is 5. 1 times 3 is 3. 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times 0 is 0. And 1 times 0 is 0. Let's add it up. 0. 13, regroup 1. 1 plus 0 plus 3 is 4. 1 plus 1 is 2. 0 and 0. And in our problem, we had 1, 2, 3, 4 places behind the decimal. That means I need 1, 2, 3, 4 places behind the decimal in my answer. So that gives me 0 whole units and 243 thousandths. This 0 here does not have to be written. That means that this and this match. So we have done our work correct. All right, I want you to rate yourself on this concept. 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4. How do you feel? Take a picture of it and put it in your, and put it back in your math journal.